Yo, what is going on, you guys? It is Marcus. We're back with another video. This is the Blue Stable Podcast. We're here to talk about the absolute collapse of the Indianapolis Colts. They failed to beat the Chiefs. I don't know what it is. The Chiefs might got something over the Colts. I don't know if it's witchcraft or whatnot. I have no idea. But the Colts had this game in their hands, in the favor. They had it right there. It was that close. Double digit lead. And they folded in the second half. And this wasn't even Mahomes' best game. Mahomes was struggling all game, but they could not figure out to win this game. I have no idea what happened. Well, actually, I do. We're going to get into it. But the score was 20-23. They lost in overtime. They didn't put up any points, well, close to no points in the second half. They didn't score in the fourth or in overtime, but they put up six in the third quarter. But they was pretty much shut out. But appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're going to hop into this game. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Apple, Spotify, you name it, Twitch, TikTok, the X app, which is formerly known as Twitter. Check out our website, which is thebluestable.com, where we drop articles, post-game and pre-game. A lot of writers, a lot of articles. Check us out. But let's go ahead and hop into this game. So, of course, the Colts wound up losing this game in which they had a chance of winning. They were favored to win this game. The Chiefs needed to win this game to stay in the playoff hunt. The Colts pretty much was the top team in the AFC. They still are, but the chances are getting slim. A lot of teams are starting to find out how to win. They're in the hunt, and the Colts are on the brink of losing home field advantage and probably the division. They play the Texans next week, but this game, they definitely had to win this game. If I had to say so myself, like I said, just to be comfortable and have a chance of clinching that berth, definitely is something you would want to see. But they just fell flat, and the offense just couldn't figure it out. But we're going to start by going over the score summary of pretty much what went down. They did wind up losing to Ashton Doolin in the process of this game with a hamstring injury, special teams guy, but they wind up signing George Odom back, so he's going to be available next week. Huge favorite for the Colts back in the day when he left in the offseason. It was pretty much one of those tough losses, but he's back now, which is good. So we'll see how he looks in the system with Lou Anarumo. But to start off out the gate, the Colts scored first at the beginning. Daniel Jones threw a touchdown to Michael Pittman, and score wound up being 7-0. Later on in the second quarter, well, at the beginning of the second quarter, the Chiefs, they being had out and wound up selling for three. So the score is now 7-3. The Colts answered back 4 minutes after. Daniel Jones threw a touchdown to Ogletree in the back of the end zone, which was amazing. Beautiful grab. And the score winds up being 14-3. Chiefs settled for two more field goals later on in that quarter, especially going into halftime. So now the score is 14-9. Coming out halftime, going into the third quarter, Chiefs couldn't figure nothing out. The Colts get the ball, wind up kicking a field goal, score 17-9. Then the Chiefs, held the ball for so long and did nothing. Colts wind up getting the ball back and kicking another field goal. The score is now 20-9. So this is the idea you have of the Colts. All right, they got to figure it out. Now let's just start running the clock. They didn't do that. Chiefs wind up answering. They found life. Kareem Hunt, after the fumble and everything, wound up finding the end zone. Touchdown Chiefs, and then they converted to 2-point conversion by Rashid Rice. So now the score is 20-17. They lost Rice with injury, but he might be available to play next week. But the Chiefs wind up getting the ball back again and tied the game going into overtime. So now the score is 20-20. The Colts elect to get the ball first in the overtime. They did nothing with it, of course. A lot of Colts fans knew they weren't going to do anything just to how the game was playing. Chiefs wound up getting the ball. They didn't really do anything, but they drove down the field, milked the clock, and then wound up kicking the field goal to win. So the score wound up being 20-23. When you look at the total yards, the Chiefs almost have 500 yards in total. They almost have 400 passing yards and almost 150 rushing yards. They average 5 yards a play. For the Colts, they had 255 total yards, almost 200 passing yards, 74 rushing yards, and 5 yards per play. So the Chiefs were dominant most of the game, just controlling the tempo, playing their type of football. Daniel Jones ended with 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor had 16 carries, 58 yards. Ashton Doolin had 1 reception, 48 yards. Rashid Rice had 8 receptions, 141 yards. Kareem Hunt had 30 carries, 104 yards, 1 touchdown. Mahomes had 352 passing yards, 1 interception, and he had 46 passing attempts, almost 50 passing attempts. It's quite insane. No touchdowns. He got sacked 4 times, but they still found a way to win. So I mean, like I said, when you look at this, when you look at the stats for all you stat watchers out there, you will wonder if the refs had something to do with it. The Colts got penalties 11 times. The Chiefs had 7. But I honestly don't think that had nothing to do with how they lost. The time of possession was 42 minutes for the Chiefs. The Colts had it for 25 minutes. But honestly, the Colts just lost this game on their own. I don't think the refs had anything to do with it. Abandoning the run game, which even though it wasn't working, I feel like honestly, I didn't even see Quentin Nelson get any lead blocks in the runs. Of course, the film watchers may say otherwise, but the run game for the Colts was just abandoned. Honestly, the mindset for the Colts, it looked like they wanted Daniel Jones to win them this game, and they put their faith in Daniel Jones, and it just wound up not working out. Daniel Jones was seeing ghosts. The pressure was too much, and it just led to a lot of stalled drives, a lot of stalled drives, inconsistencies. The run game was just not there. They just tried to pass the game, and they got too greedy. There was a few times where they was trying to be aggressive on 4th down, and it just didn't work out. So I don't know what the mindset was for the Colts going into this game. A lot of questionable calls, and the Colts were just looking to lose this game on purpose. The defense played their heart out. Even though they were on the field for a long time, this team, they had a lot of breaks. A lot of stall drives for the Chiefs when the defense for the Colts won. They tried to put the ball back for the Colts on offense, and they just did nothing. But like I said, at the beginning of the game, the Colts looked like they was about to run away with it. The score was 20-9. The offense was moving fluidly. They had a lot of creative design plays. Ashton Doolin got involved. Ogletree caught a touchdown, like I said. Mo Cox even caught some passes. Josh Downs caught a few big catches. Alec Pierce got involved. Michael Pittman Jr. got involved. Tyler Warren, he was looking like a stud at the beginning. But it just went to the how would I put this? Like I said, it was just a sinking ship, honestly. Like I said, they had everything in their favor to win this game, but the Colts just went away from what was working. Of course, when you knew in the second half, even, commentary knew it. Tony Romo, just pretty much knowing every play before it happens. He said that the Chiefs are going to blitz in the second half just due to how they played in the first half. And that's what they did. And the Colts did nothing to adjust to it. And it's unfortunate, the Colts, just had the game in their favor and just let the Chiefs walk away with it. Even in overtime, and the Colts elected to get the ball first. I was just like, I kind of knew it was going to happen, honestly, just watching the game. I think every Colts fan can agree. Watching this game going into overtime, you just knew that there was this feeling that the Chiefs were going to pull it off and win this game. And like I said, this wasn't even Mahomes' best game. He couldn't do anything. He was seeing ghosts. The Colts defense had a lot of pressure on him. They forced him to make reads that wasn't there. There were wide open passes for him. The Chiefs could have walked away a long time ago. They could have had touchdowns. But Mahomes just tried to make something happen out of nothing. Even though it wound up working in their favor, they still won this game. But the Colts offense was the legit reason why they lost this game. Penalty-wise was just poor decisions. It is what it is. Like I said, the offense for the Colts stalled in the fourth quarter and going into overtime. They didn't get any first downs. So that had a lot to do with it. And then, the usage of the run game. Jonathan Taylor got taken out, late in the fourth, and it had you thinking, like, is he hurt? What's wrong with him? You seen him on the sideline and Abdullah come in the game, but that just was the play calls that they were going with, and it just did not work out. You can see the frustration brewing on the sideline because there was a moment where you knew that Jonathan Taylor was going to break free and just have one of those big runs like he used to have in all season. And that's what I thought they were doing at first. when they took him out, I was like, okay, maybe they're savoring him for the big moment at the end of the game to get like one of those big dagger runs or one of those home runs. Nope, they just took him out the game, and then I was just like, oh well, there we go. So it was a lot of questionable play calling, and the management of the game just wasn't there. Like I said, they didn't lean on the run game enough, and trusting Daniel Jones to win the game when it wasn't needed, when the score was 20-9, was just unacceptable. So that had a lot to do with it. But credit to the Chiefs. They let the Colts beat themselves, and they just took advantage of it. So they had a lot of big plays. They just took control of it at the end of the game from the second half, from the beginning to the end. They didn't go into overtime. They knew they were going to win this game. So, like I said, even in the preview video, you can never count out the Kansas City Chiefs, no matter what their record is. Andy Reid is their coach and Mahomes is their quarterback, so they're going to have a chance every game. And that's what happened. So the lack of adjustment for the Colts had a lot to do with it. The momentum swung. Even after the fumble with Kareem Hunt, you just knew that the Colts were going to try to take advantage, and they didn't. But the Chiefs still trusted Kareem Hunt, and it still ran the ball a lot. So and it just wound up working in their favor. Did we miss DeForest Buckner? Absolutely. Sauce Gardner, he had a 50-50 game, but I think that had a lot to do with Mahomes not making the right reads. Mooney Ward, first game back, was a little rusty. It is what it is. Katie Moore was up and down, but Latu had a good game, so give credit with Latu. Grover Stewart had a good game. Zaire Franklin, pretty iffy. I think the best person on defense besides Latu was Jermaine Pratt. I think Jermaine Pratt had a really phenomenal game. So give credit with him. He was all over the field, in my opinion. So I definitely loved the game from Jermaine Pratt. And like I said, on the offensive side, like I said, they couldn't find any consistency. And that's just unfortunate. But it is what it is. The early showing for the Colts on offense just wasn't enough. Wasn't consistent, and then it didn't transpire into the second half. And they wound up losing Ashton Doolin in the process. So special teams is going to be a question going into next week against the Houston Texans. I'm going to love to see what they're going to do that week. We've seen what happened with no Anthony Gould or Ashton Doolin when they had Josh Downs returning the ball, when he muffed it and everything. I like Josh Downs, but I just don't trust him as a special teamer. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that, even though we have Gould. But this game that the Colts lost, they definitely should have won. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, how they adjust going into next week against the Houston Texans. Seeing them for the first time this year, it's going to be a huge game for them. Hopefully they can figure it out. But you guys let me know your thoughts. How do you feel about this game in the comment section? How they should have adjusted. Do you like the call with leaving Taylor out on the side and trusting Daniel Jones? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section. This is Marcus, and until next time, you guys have a good week. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe. Drink responsibly, and we'll be back with the preview of the Colts and the Texans. You guys have a good one.